Head job.
Hello, everybody. Good morning to all of you, and I welcome all of you to the second day of India Transformation Summit. It is a 3-day summit which is about the initiatives and innovations which are happening in our country for transforming the nation. And we are very honored that more than 50 achievers and officers and stakeholders who are doing fabulous work in innovations and initiatives for transforming their states or in whole the country. They are here for these 3 days and sharing their views, ideas, and success stories. And in the same way, we are today here in this session on how technology is being leveraged for smart policing. And we are very happy to have very eminent speakers here to discuss their success stories, their views, and their ideas. I introduce each of them to all of you. Dr. Arshinder Singh Chawla, Additional Director General of Police for Telecom, IT and CCTNS, Haryana Police. Sir, आपका स्वागत है. Warm welcome, sir. And I also welcome a dynamic officer, Mr. Yashasvi Yadav, Special Inspector General of Police, Maharashtra Cyber Department, Maharashtra Police. Yashasvi ji, आपका स्वागत है.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We will also be joined by Mr. Sharat Kaviraj, DIG, Deputy Inspector General of SOG in Rajasthan Police. Shortly, he will join us. And we will also be joined by Mr. B. Krishna, CFCS Director for Fraud and Security Intelligence in a very renowned company, SAS, which is doing fabulous work in security solutions. So to start this discussion with a very interesting presentation on how Maharashtra is dealing with cyber crimes, and we have none other than the person who is leading it, Mr. Yashasvi Yadav, Special Inspector General of Police, Maharashtra Cyber Department, Maharashtra Police. Yashasvi ji, I will request you to please start this session with your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. It's my privilege that we are able to discuss all the nuances of cybercrime. I'm representing Maharashtra Cyber Department, which is the nodal agency of Maharashtra dealing with all the issues relating to cybercrime, cybersecurity, and also social media monitoring. Now, before we understand our strategies, we must understand how cybercrime is evolving in the firmament of present-day cybercrime, what is happening, and then only we can devise strategies to deal with it. As you know, Maharashtra reports the maximum number of cybercrimes in the country, and I would like to draw your attention to just 3 or 4 major headlines in the realm of cybercrime in the last 1 week. Like yesterday, Supreme Court commented that misuse of social media is as good as handing a gun to a cyber criminal. Now, this is a very, very important quote and sums up the situation of what is happening in social media. We will take up these headlines one by one, and it will clarify what kind of strategies we need to devise or what we have devised in Maharashtra. Secondly, there was a headline yesterday that Google Play Store has removed 11 apps yesterday only for a malware called Joker. This is a worldwide malware, one of the most pernicious malwares. So this is another headline. Third headline, 4 days back is cyber attack could be the possible cause of fire in Natanz nuclear facility in Iran, where more than 100 centrifuges caught fire in the nuclear facility of Natanz in Iran. This is the third. And fourth headline, which Maharashtra cyber only discovered. The fourth one, the next one that I'm referring to, is in the darknet, even blood of COVID recovered patients is being sold at 10 lakh rupees per liter. Of course, in Bitcoins, at 10 lakh rupees per liter for plasma therapy. So these four headlines, according to me, succinctly define the firmament of cybercrime in today's world. We'll deal with them one by one, and then we'll quickly come to Maharashtra's strategy that we have devised and have been partially successful. First, let's deal with cyber attacks being possible cause of attack in Natanz nuclear facility. Remember 4 to 5 years back, our experiences with the internet were confined basically to YouTube, Google. That means basically entertainment and information gathering. But now two important parameters have been added. Number one is digital economy 2.0, which means most of the financial transactions we want to do online. So money is involved. If money is involved, cybercrime, criminals, interests are involved. This is the basic difference between, say, 2015 and 2020. Now, even if you want to take Ola or a cab, you need to pay digitally or at least use internet in some sort of the way. So most of the payments, financial transactions through internet, this is a paradigm shift. And that's why we have seen huge plethora of cyber crimes. Number two paradigm shift that has happened, that earlier, maybe cyber criminals could have caused us financial losses. But now cyber crime can affect our national security, our sovereignty, and can be fatal and lead to loss of lives. Why I'm saying this? Because of this headline, Natanz nuclear facility. About 8 to 9 years back, Natanz was attacked by a virus or a worm called Stuxnet. Most of the people in cybercrime field would be knowing what is a Stuxnet. And it blew apart more than 100 centrifuges which were being used to enrich uranium there. Had the radioactive material leaked, the uranium that was enriched, if it would have leaked in active radioactive form, it would have led to a major catastrophe. A few years back, in Perth, in Australia, cyber criminals hacked into water filtration plants and altered the chemical composition. And the clean water which was being provided in Australia was converted into poison. And then the blackmailing started. The crime was never detected, ransom was paid, and only then the computer-controlled water filtration plant was decrypted and allowed to restore its normal water distribution facilities. So these are the things which are affecting our lives and can lead to major losses, major problems the world over. Secondly, let's come to the second headline. The second headline, okay, before that, let me just allude to one more reference where cybercrime can lead to loss of lives and major catastrophes. These days, security experts all over the world are mostly concerned about how to prevent control of nuclear warheads in various countries, including our neighbor, going into the hands of cyber criminals. As you know, in every country, certain percentage of nuclear warheads are kept in ever-ready state, and they are controlled by computer and sometimes by networks. If any cyber criminal gang manages to gain control of these networks, they can execute nuclear strikes at will, and it can lead to major catastrophe. Not covered in mainstream media, but one of the biggest headaches of security experts, especially in Western countries. That's why we are always talking about security of nuclear warheads. Now we are coming to the second headline, which says, Honorable Supreme Court has yesterday commented that misuse of social media is as good as gun in hand. A flagrant example of this is few months back in Palghar. Two sadhus were lynched because in social media a canard was spread that child lifter gang, kidney stealing gang is coming in those villages. And these sadhus were mistaken to be members of these gangs, and they were lynched in the presence of police. The case is still under investigation in Palghar district of Maharashtra. So this is a worrying factor, how social media is being turned into a toxic cyberspace where fake news, hate mails, cyber abuses, cyberbullying, and whole lot of other activity which may be classified as cybercrime is happening.
Yes, sir.
Possible, am I being heard properly? Or is there some technical disturbance?
No, sir, you are able to.
Okay, thank you. There was some noise or some disturbance, so I thought maybe there is a disruption. Okay, so this is a major issue now, that people are using cyberspace and social media platform to cause harm of reputation, to make abuses and cyberbullying in the name of trolling. Lot of conduct which is classified as cybercrime is going unabated and with impunity. So what Maharashtra Cyber has done to control it, a very innovative measure, and I urge the different police units all across India to consider taking up this very fundamental but brilliant idea. Our Home Minister, Shri Anil Deshmukh, suggested that we should warn these people who are making such below the belt obnoxious comments or abuses on social media platform, which sometimes leads to rumor mongering and loss of lives also, as the Palghar case I discussed. So what we started doing, we took out a provision in section 149 of CRPC, which allows police officers to interpose to prevent commission of a crime, and started giving them legal warnings on their inboxes, be it Instagram, be it Facebook, be it any other platform. So after giving these warnings, we found miraculous change in the behavior of these cyber bullies. And wonderful thing was that out of about 1,000 such posts that we identified, more than 50% self-deleted their obnoxious posts, which was a major success for the Maharashtra Cybercrime Department. So this reaped dividends, no extra financial burden on us, no change of laws, just a legal warning as per section 149 CRPC, and 50% of cyberspace in various social media platforms was sanitized without even booking these people, because most of them are white collar people. Once they know that their identity, their so-called anonymity on social media platform is exposed and the department is watching their activities, they generally discontinue their cyber bullying kind of behavior. And their subsequent comments or posts were quite diplomatic, and the words chosen were very meticulous and definitely acceptable. So this is regarding one innovative strategy that we devised. A third headline that I would like to discuss here is the various types that darknet is being used for committing a lot of cyber crimes. As you know, darknet or deepnet, you may call it any which way, constitutes about 99.96% of the internet. That means the surface net or clear net is just 0.04% of the internet. So whatever we Google or YouTube or on social media platforms or whole lot of other websites constitutes just 0.04% of the internet. Now, darknet is a major issue because it's very difficult to investigate or find out the source of people posting various things on the darknet. On darknet, you can buy the data, the passwords, credit card details, guns, arms smuggling, even humans. Human trafficking racket is also going on. Few years back, even assassins could be hired on the darknet, which is a major issue. And recently, Maharashtra's cyber department found a marketplace where COVID recovered patients' blood was being sold at 10 lakh rupees a liter for plasma therapy. So we need to devise a strategy to deal with such criminals, because by using Tor Explorer in darknet, it's very difficult to trace, because the post bounces off various countries before appearing on the darknet. This is going to be a major issue, major challenge in the coming world, in the coming few years. So this I thought is very, very important. Now we come to what is the extent of cybercrime. As I told you, with digital economy and online transactions, the extent of cybercrime in 2019 was about 4 trillion US dollars. This is the kind of loss or revenue loss or kind of illegal earnings through cybercrime, 4 trillion US dollars. And remember what our Prime Minister, Honorable Narendra Modi ji, has envisioned for India in 2024? $5 trillion. So this is the amount of money cybercrime is attracting, which is more than the drug-related revenue. So cybercrime has overtaken the drug-related revenue or drug cartels revenue in the whole world. So why sell drugs? It's better to become a cyber criminal in the present world, unless we, the law enforcement agencies, make it difficult for them to operate. So how many people were affected by serious cyber crimes in the world in 2019? About 100 crore people, which is approximately the population of our country. These are gigantic numbers and counting. In 2024, we want to make our economy 5 trillion economy. In 2024, cybercrime would be to the tune of 10 trillion US dollars. double our envisioned economy. So these are the kind of numbers, we are dealing with. Recently, we came across a phishing attack where some people had made exact replica of Arogya Setu app, some cyber criminals. And once you go into that app, a malicious code would attach itself into your smartphone, and all your data, privacy, images, microphone, camera, everything is compromised. So your phone becomes your own spying device, and all the data is stolen and may be posted on darknet for sale. So this is the kind of scenario. Cybercrime has surpassed the drug network of the world in terms of revenues. Cybercrime is already killing people and may lead to mass catastrophe very soon. And you know which country is having the maximum number of cyber criminals? It is US. US and China account for roughly half the cyber attacks in the world. India accounts for about 3% of cyber attacks across the world. Then there are a few other countries one gets surprised to know, like Poland, Turkey, South Korea, which are also among the top 10 or 15 countries from where the cyber attacks emanate. My last submission is another horrifying scenario of cyber warfare. Recently, we heard that Australia, India, US were subjected to cyber warfare attacks from one of the countries, which is a horrifying scenario. Imagine our electric supplies or even our train signaling systems getting hacked, or even our water filtration plant getting hacked. It could lead to major catastrophe before the physical war erupts. The cyber warfare can cripple the enemy before the physical warfare erupts. Another very innovative project that Maharashtra Cyber is undertaking is called Operation Blackface. Operation Blackface is against child pornography. And Maharashtra is one of the few states who has registered more than about 50 such cyber crimes and arrested about 40 cyber criminals indulging in child pornography. So these are few of our strategies, few of our concerns, challenges, milestones, and paradigm shifts in the realm of cybercrime. I thought with these opening remarks, we can discuss these things in more discussion in form of a panel discussion or whatever the moderator suggests. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Yadav. And we are actually happy to get insights of the cyber issues and how cybercrime cell is dealing with it. And when it comes to Maharashtra, I think financial and economic cyber crimes are quite much rampant here. And I think it is one of the major area where Maharashtra Cyber Police is working. And great to know a great work being done by Maharashtra Police in cyber space. So before we go on to the next speaker, I would like to introduce Mr. Sharat Kaviraj here with us, Director. He is Deputy Inspector General for SOG in Rajasthan Police. Sharat Kaviraj ji, आपका स्वागत है. Can we have a grid view, please?
Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Can we put Sharat ji on screen once? Welcome, sir. So Sharat ji was earlier, he is just posted in SOG. Before that, he was in SCRB, and he was very instrumental in putting up a lot of technology initiatives in Rajasthan Police. And before I request him to speak, we have a very eminent speaker with us. Dr. Arshinder Singh Chawla ji is here with us. And sir, I would request you to please share your views, your experience, and your ideas with us, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Very nice presentation by Yashasvi.
Thank you, sir.
But what I would concentrate on is how to leverage technology in a positive way for our policing efforts. Because the face that Yashasvi has shown for all that is going to happen and all that can happen, well, it is increasingly a tough place to be in, with the cyber criminals moving around and you not knowing who they are and where they are. In Haryana, what we had done is there were small time efforts by different officers regarding using technology for effective policing. Finally, about 2 years back, we decided that all these small time efforts, they do not get institutionalized. What happens is you do a good thing and that either it goes away with the officer who did it, or finally it stays restricted to a certain territorial jurisdiction within the state. So NCRB had brought out CCTNS. I hope everybody is familiar with that. And there is a core application software, CAS, which they built up. And they permitted the states to build upon this CAS and develop modules, customize their softwares in the way that the states want to do it. We finally took the CAS as the base, and we decided that all modules that have to be built up should be built up in a way that they are easily talking to CAS. So if I am building up a facial recognition software, if I am using something as an investigation tool, all these should be finally linked up and my CAS should be strengthened. Why? My CAS has data as old as when Haryana was formed. So I have data from 1966 onwards. 1st November 1966, when Haryana was carved out, all the data related to criminals is already digitized, either migrated or digitized and thoroughly vetted. Now, when I have this massive data with me of all the criminals, we decided we will take the steps in different directions. Now, the first was, how do we support our investigation teams? Now, in investigation, we took up as a first challenge was the crime against women. Now, in crime against women, any of the officers, any of the police personnel at the rock bottom in the police stations knows the moment an FIR is registered anywhere in the state, these team know that this person has been named in an FIR. Our all challans, the final reports that are going to the court are through CCTNS. So if any person has been charge sheeted, if any person has been named in an FIR in any of the sections related to crime against women, so our investigation officers know that this person is already booked. So that is one call which we took. And for the supervisory officers, we decided that if a case has to be investigated within 30 days, there have been amendments on that the challan in a case has to be submitted to the court within a fixed number of days. Now, our superior officers, instead of collecting the data manually, now they pick up the data from the CCTNS database. They know which cases in which police stations across the state are falling out of time. And then the senior officers here and the senior officers in the field, they are able to remedy the situation and ensure that things are taken care of, so that we do not violate or everything particularly related to crime against women is the investigation is completed in a specific time. Our target 2 years back when we took this policy change, it was that we will start everything with one. And if something can be done for one, it can always be done for n number of modules. So now next we are touching is crime against property. Second thing was service delivery to the people. Haryana Police is offering 33 services through its website, and even there is another e-Saral portal which Haryana government has built up. So that is also integrated now. So 33 services are being offered to the common citizen online. We saw two things happening in this. One, we were not able to monitor as to the delays in individual service delivery. So if you have applied for a character certificate, you have applied for a verification certificate, a tenant certificate, you just go on to our website, log in as a normal citizen, apply for that, deposit 50 rupees as the online fees, and now we have the system of SMSs floating in to officers at different levels. So if 21 days has been kept as the timeline for delivery of a service, so at every point that the delay happens, at the nodal levels, the SMSs have started coming. So this is in our trial stage. Now what happens is that as a district SP, we must know which of the police stations are erring in terms of service delivery to the citizens. Let me tell you, I mean, if the audience is not all police, our basic fundamental unit is the police station. And most of the times, all things that we keep developing are for the top level, for the officers to supervise. What we are concentrating is that the police station is strengthened. There is a general perception all across the country कि ऑफिसर्स तो बहुत अच्छे हैं, लेकिन जो थाने का स्टाफ है वहां सब गड़बड़ घोटाला होता है. That is a general perception I am talking. So we wanted that the SHO is also strengthened. Essentially, he is a good human being who wants to do good job. We only have to provide him tools so that he can improve upon his own functioning. So the SHO, if any service is crossing 14 days and has yet not been delivered, the SHO gets an SMS about different heads in which his services are pending. Only about those. So if there are 5 services in which there are delays of, say, maybe 2 people or 3 people, 3 services not being delivered, the SHO knows it, and then he can definitely talk to the concerned and get the needful done. The third part which we took up was our integration with jails. Though NCRB, as a part of now ICJS, which is the interoperable criminal justice system, has indeed linked police not only with the prisons but also with forensics, with the prosecution. But we did this a bit earlier than that. And now what happens is, if a police personnel in any police station has got hold of a criminal and he or she does not know his background. See, there was a time in the country when your criminals were by and large belonging to your area, and there would be very less movement across the state or across the country. Now it is a time when people from any of the neighboring states can come into a particular district in Haryana, commit a crime, and go back. So the SHO or the police staff there actually do not have details about the criminals, which was true about British times, earlier times, when there were far few criminals and far few mobility. So now, if I have a criminal and I want to see. Now, I am talking myself not at a senior or a supervisory level. I am talking as a police personnel who is the investigating officer in a police station. So with my user ID and password, I can go to the system. I can link it up with prisons department and see whether this person has ever been lodged earlier in any jail of the state. And what I'm talking today is applicable for the state. NCRB is, of course, working on this to integrate it at a national level, because then this dream comes true that any person from anywhere in the world, from anywhere in the country, if he has committed an offense, you must know where he or she has done something wrong. So our investigating officers can see the previous prison record of any criminal that they have caught and arrested. Next was, which our CID generally monitors, and I think all of them do, is gauging the social media mood and seeing who all have, who all are doing wrong things. Yashasvi has already given a very good demo on that, and most of the units all across the country are doing it at different levels of growth. The next step that we are going on is our facial recognition software with a twin target. So while the normal police will use it for identifying the criminals, the CID department would be using it for identifying mischievous elements in a crowd in any big gathering. So that tool is available to the police also, the civilian police, normal police for policing purposes. But this facial recognition, an IO, if he has caught hold of a person in Faridabad, you don't know whether he has come from UP or he has come from Delhi or he has come from Rajasthan, because the borders are very porous and accessibility is very, very easy. So if we can identify the criminals by looking, the databases have to merge. We are already on that process. And certainly, if any of the mischievous elements are sitting in a big gathering of maybe a political rally or any other big gathering, if the cameras are on and we can detect them, that will do a lot of good job for the police department, because in such big crowds, normal policing, the eyes of the policemen are no longer able to gauge or watch for every dubious character that is inside the crowd. The crowds have outgrown. The eyes of the police personnel have to be supplemented. One more and last small thing which I wanted was, many a times we in the police do talk about very big things. I have always believed that if small things on a continuous basis are done, they certainly deliver much bigger results at the end. Though in the beginning, there may not be a lot of new hue and cry. The biggest thing that we see is most of the websites of different state polices are not being updated in a very particular way, that the right things which motivate the people, things which are good for the common man, where he or she gets empowered, and last, our own police personnel, where they can see what good it can do to you. So every website of the police should be catering to not only the common man, but also to their own people. So we have been putting a lot of things, and the updation takes place on a day-to-day basis. And if any of the police personnel anywhere in the state has done a good job, we just get a click from there, post it on our website. So if a constable is there on the website who has done a very good job, done an act of bravery, or done a good thing about tracing cyber criminals, they do feel empowered to do a much better job in the future. So these are largely our efforts. If I am addressing, because I do not have too many details about the audience that I am talking to, see, official, particularly police department, faces a very unique problem. One, anything that we do should be in tune with the law of the land. So somewhere something happens, or you are always able to find something uh, because of which we can say that this is in contravention of law. And second, all our purchasing or all our tying up with different agencies for building up any good models, any technological upgradation, it has an inherent problem of, either that the agency is already empaneled, or it is a reliable source, so that software which is having a cost which can vary from a real low to a very high for the same product. So amongst the bureaucracy, there is a general perception that all the wrong things while purchasing software or while involving the technological agencies for betterment of police services. So if all this ghablabaji that takes place is at the level of software, my request to all of you is, I am a very strong believer that the modern technological inputs into any sphere of bureaucracy, be it policing or be it any other department, is a kind of art now. It is creativity, it is innovativeness, how good or how better you can arrive at. And for sure, I am convinced that innovativeness or creativity can never be empaneled. But when we have to do something, we are looking for empaneled sources, either with the IT department of the state or with at the central level, or they have done such projects with other government agencies all across anywhere in the country. My request to you is, the private industry, if you can also work out on this, talk to the concerned channels and say that these technology is such a thing and it is changing so very fast that your empaneled sources or the known sources, this issue, if a private body can be constituted where you can sort, where you can work it out, that these agencies are doing a good job, because new talent is coming in every day, and the past technology what I had yesterday could be over in another 10 days. So in this fast changing world, if we follow those old norms, so the private industry, if it can coordinate to have good people on board who can give some kind of a certification to their startups or to their new people who want to advance in this, I think that will be a very good step, and it will be much easier for any of the departments, including the police department, to take up services from any of these agencies if such a certification exists. Thank you so much. I think I concentrated on what I feel: small growth, small changes leading to a bigger change. And if I'm able to establish something happens for one and something happens for the second module, for sure, it can happen for the entire thing. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And you have actually raised several important issues, and we have one solution provider also with us. So I think we will have that question to them also. But before that, I will request Mr. Sharat Kaviraj. Sir, recently I interviewed you, and that was for you came up with and I think Rajasthan was the first state for issuing e-passes.
Karthik ji, sorry to interrupt. I have another webinar to attend. If you permit me, I'll make a quiet exit.
Okay, surely, sir. Thank you. It was wonderful.
I was here till 11:15 as per your schedule. So please, I'm extremely sorry that I'll have to make a quiet and quick exit.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And it was
Thank you,
wonderful
Chawla
having.
sir. It was a very nice presentation which had the crux of all your experience in this department. We'll definitely benefit from it as professional police officers.
Thank you, Yashasvi. I'll definitely stay in touch with you, brother.
Thank you so much. And all the best,
Bye-bye.
Mr. Kaviraj, for your discourse or presentation on this.
Thank you, sir. I think Rajasthan was the first state, as I was saying, that to issue e-passes during the lockdown. So you are into technology from long time, and I think I would like to know you also from you that how you have been using artificial intelligence or machine learning in your work, and also please tell us about your experiences with technology for smart policing, Mr. Sharat Kaviraj.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes.
I have been associated with technology in Rajasthan Police for actually probably very, very long. Probably when I was a probationer, I started off from my ASP days, SP days. I've been part of SCRB. I have not been part of SCRB, but been part of CCTNS. So my journey has always had some kind of link with technology and policing. In today's presentation, I would like to focus more on the e-pass system which we developed. This was something I felt it was unique. Finally, a lot of other states also came out with their solution, but the kind of the work which was done in Rajasthan was unique, and I think it should be shared with others. So the idea was that the moment the lockdown idea came, there was clearly a need for system of passes. Now the challenge is that in order to get passes, people have to go to government offices, and that is something which is not desirable. Number one. Number two, when passes are getting checked on the ground, again there is a physical interaction between the enforcement agencies and those carrying passes. Third is that the requirement of passes generally was expected to be an emergency requirement, and the response had to be very fast, very quick. So the problem statements were very clear how to make a system where there is a contactless approval process and there is a contactless enforcement process. Now, when we started designing this application, we realized that we don't want to do it only for police. We want to do it across government, and because it is not possible for police alone to decide that who needs passes and who does not. If you recall, the directions of the central government had categorized various sectors as essential, which included industry, food, and so on, transportation. So the first challenge was how do we identify people who are eligible to give passes. So the first thing which we decided was that we will dovetail it, the whole solution, with the Rajcop app which we have as part of our citizen initiative. So Rajcop has two versions. One it is for officials and the other for citizens. So we decided that it will be an integrated solution across the government where Rajcop will be the heart of the solution. So for application, Rajcop had a simple form where you could apply. Now the beauty of the application was that once you apply, initially all the applications were going to the concerned district police for approval. But the back end was developed in such a manner that instead of having a database kind of a solution where you log in and there is data being displayed, we chose the architecture of an email. So once a request was there, an email was generated for the department that so and so request has come, and there was an option of forwarding that email to whoever was concerned department if it was not police. And the email itself contained a link which was linked to the backend where the approval process was built in. The email itself has a link. You click it, you say whether the pass is approved or not approved. If it is not approved, why it is not approved. A simple process. So by designing this architecture, we ensured that we were able to cater to any kind of flexibility which is required. For example, some of the collectors said that the passes will be given by Tehsildar. The transport department said that, okay, RTOs will be doing that. Now, within RTOs, there could be so many other officers. And the emails, SSO IDs, etc. were not known. And the penetration of SSO among other government departments is also not as good as we have in police. So email was a big innovation which we did. And based on the email solution, there was so much flexibility that we were able to cope up with various government agencies immediately. I'll just show you some of the figures which we have based on screen sharing with the two monitors.
You just need to click twice on the screen.
Okay, just a second, I'll be able to show that. Yes.
On the,
I hope you can see the screen.
yes, yes.
Okay, so it is just refreshing. So these are some of the figures. As you can see, almost 21 lakh people applied. More than 10 lakh approvals were there. So many applications we could not process. About 9 lakh applications were rejected. And right now, active passes right now are also 11,000. So you say that this application was used considerably, Jaipur being the most used district. And we have the peaks where the lockdowns were basically opened up in a controlled manner. Then we have various departments. So we had two categories, the individual category, and as I scroll down, the various departments are there: food and civil supplies, industries, IT sector, mines were there, RECO was there, transport was there. So as you can see, large figures that various departments, urban development, housing was there for construction activity. So all these departments, district administration of course was the core of it. All the departments, local self-governments were using a single application, a single platform. And whoever was issuing the pass, the man on the ground, the policeman on the ground had Rajcop official on which they could check the pass. It had a QR code built in. The vehicle was supposed to carry that QR code pass pasted on the vehicle's screen. And without having any contact, they could scan the QR code and see whether the pass is valid or not. Now, the validity of the pass because of IT infrastructure became again very powerful, because not only could they see that whether they have a valid pass, they could also check whether the pass is, these are details of individual companies and persons who had applied. So the individual pass could be verified not only for whether it was valid or not for that day, but also valid or not for that particular time. It also contained pictures of people who were authorized by that pass. So that pass became a very powerful pass where the policeman could see for whom the pass is given, at what time the pass is valid, whether it has expired or not. And it was widely welcomed by all. And the best part, I would say that all policemen would appreciate it more than anybody else, that it's a harrowing experience for policemen on the ground, because the pass issuing authorities are so many across the state. Now, everyone is carrying a different kind of pass, and you have to go through who has issued, Now, authenticity of the pass cannot be verified. There is a physical contact. So whatever earlier mechanisms were there, they were replaced by this single mechanism, and it became a point which was very well appreciated. Government in its later orders named the e-pass system as the only pass system by which government of Rajasthan will operate. And the companies in turn were also empowered to issue passes for themselves. So which means that large companies like ISP, which had across the state operations, we said that, okay, you have a system by which you can issue your own passes to a particular limit. That, of course, we could check how many passes were issued, etc. So delegation of pass issuing authority was also done through this application. Eventually, we moved to a database-driven system. So, all in all, I would say that it was a brilliant experience in the sense that we started with an requirement which, in normal or due course of time, would have taken months or sometime even a year to make the application, to design the application, to deliver the application, test the application, and we were actually expected to roll out within 1 week. So the kind of innovations which we did, the architecture, the practical aspects of the whole thing, and then moved on from A kind of problems to B kind of the problems, and solving each of the problems on our way till the solution became very mature. So in future, this solution is expected to be used across government for all sorts of passes, where enforcement agency is able to check whoever has issued the pass for its validity, and various government departments come to a single platform. So that has been a wonderful experience during COVID, and eventually there was some resistance also from police that आपने online में कहाँ फंसा दिया, हमारे पास इतने सारे forms आने लग गए, इतनी सारी applications आने लग गई. But as the application moved and it became more and more convenient, and at times the application got overwhelmed, and there were certain outages also. At that time, policemen would say, "बंद हो गया है, इसे हमें कराओ, हमारे थानों में लोग आने लग गए हैं." So the moment you adopt technology, the initial resistance not only goes, the demand for it comes very high. And the Rajcop Citizen app, which was generally not a very popular app, crossed a million mark of download in a very short time. So all in all, it was an experience where we could clearly see that if you give a citizen service which is demanded and appropriate, people react very positively. Large numbers take benefit from it. Besides that, sir, I'd like to say certain things about CCTNS also. I just moved out of CCTNS, and CCTNS being a national rollout, some of the unique things which we have done is that CCTNS in Rajasthan is a pure online application. There is no online offline module, and all our case diaries and case file is now on CCTNS. So very recently, Supreme Court has identified Rajasthan as one of the pilot states where ICDS integration will take place, and we have successfully integrated FIR with the court system. So today, there is a module within the court system in Rajasthan which is able to not only absorb the metadata of FIR but also the PDF and attachments of FIR. Very soon we will go ahead with the rest of the process, and as Sir in Haryana has done, the institutionalization of CCTNS and computerization here has actually now been so strong that individual initiatives are no longer relevant, and whatever brilliance initial individuals have shown, that brilliance is now part of CCTNS. Like for example, photo matching also, Rajasthan has integrated now. At the national level, so many things are happening. So when we are talking about this decade, I would say the decade from 2010 to 2020 has been a decade where the groundwork for use of technology has happened. And in the next decade, probably analytics, AI, and machine learning tools, our GIS applications, then integration of various databases like Dial 100 or emergency response or so many other government databases. They will hopefully come and merge into a single platform, and use of technology will take us to a different level. Again, as sir in Haryana said, the citizen services has to come here. The discretion of the IOs has to get reduced. The trust between the investigator and the prosecutor and the judiciary will increase considerably once we prove that this data is not tampered, things were done on the ground. We move away from paper-based investigations to video-based investigations. So in the future is, I think, very promising, and use of technology in policing very soon, I think, will be as good as any in the rest of the world. Thank you so much. Karthik, your mic is off.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Kaviraj. It was a insightful description of e-pass system, and also you and Mr. Chawla, you have focused on some of the very important points. Once you, Mr. Kaviraj, you talked about data, how data to be collected and how data can be merged with each other, and the best use of it can happen. And about the technology, how latest technologies like AI, machine learning, artificial intelligence can be used, and and also you talked about the prosecution and the reduction of crime and how we can use technology there. So these 3 4 points are there, very important, and we have a very important solution provider of such security solutions here. And I would request both of you to please go through. I will request him to speak about what can be the solutions of these problems, and then we can have question answers also after that. So I will request Mr. Radha Krishna, who is from SAS. Company which is very popular in security domain. He looks after the fraud and security intelligence, CFCS, in SAS. I request Radha Krishna ji to please throw some light on these issues and present from your side what can be the best solutions, security solutions for policing, smart policing.
Okay, thanks, Karthik. Nice to hear Dr. Harshvinder Singh Chawla and Sharat Kaviraj sir on the issues that have been raised, which are very, very pertinent. And as rightly put, in terms of what has been the previous decade and what is the current decade, and what has been the technology investments and progress in the initial regime, and what are the expectations of the current decade. I think that gives a mandate for me in terms of what understanding these expectations as a very serious vendor in this particular space. What are we doing? What are we investing to enable the objectives that are being mentioned by both of them. So let me just share my screen. Let me know when you are able to see this. And
yes, we can see that.
Okay, I think echoing the views expressed by both the eminent speakers, including Mr. Yashasvi Yadav, I think the key issues what our law enforcement agencies and police are grappling at this point of time is that, unlike a few years back where we had an issue in terms of automation, issues around data, but the current problem what we are dealing with is not lack of data but explosion of data. So there's increasing available information across within the department, as well as dependency of the department on the data outside. There is increasing growing public expectations owing to the fact that the youth essentially has a lot of expectations from the law enforcement agencies. As what you see every time, there are a lot of political imperatives for action depending upon the gravity of the case. And by virtue of the law, the agencies have to essentially need to provide evidence-based decision-making process. And that's what Mr. Sharat Kaviraj was also mentioning. What we see increasingly across the globe is that agencies are moving towards intelligence-led operations or intelligence-led policing to drive or encompass prevention and deterrence. Now, while I've covered quite a few issues what have been mentioned by the speakers, let me just get into what are the key themes that are emerging at this point of time to handle some of these issues, to handle some of the problems mentioned by speakers from the police agencies itself. There's while there are systems like CCTNS, there are facial recognition system, there is CAS, quite a few systems. Increasingly, agencies are talking about having data fusion. Since the agencies are dealing with a lot of textual data, there's a lot being spoken about natural language processing. There's a lot that is being spoken about AI-led predictive policing. Increasingly, the agencies are looking at being very proactive rather than being reactive, and that's where they're looking at alerts. What we also see is that there's heavy reliance on analyzing the financial aspect of the crime, because that essentially is funding the crime itself. And the last one, as what was mentioned by Dr. Arshinder Chawla, is that there has to be a design to this, rather than there has to be a method for the investigation. Can there be standard operating procedures? Can there be small changes that can be done so that the investigation processes become standardized, so that there can be an institutional memory that can be created as part of the investigations and standard operating procedures? Now, given that these are the technologies, issues, what can it be really achieved? Second is it by method, or is it just by chance? Luckily, going by our experience, there is a method to deal with this madness. So just to give you a view of how data can translate into an actionable intelligence, what you have on the left side is quite a few source systems where the agency draws data. CCTNS, which captures the crime data, SERB, which has a length and breadth of data over history. There's a lot that is happening with respect to emergency dial data. There's data from intelligence. Of course, we cannot ignore open source intelligence data, open data. In addition to that, quite a few functions what state police agencies does. They have quite a bit of data with respect to passport, travel, watch list data, verification records data, whole lot of data. Now, the issue, as I mentioned earlier, this is no more a paucity. The issue is abundance. The issue is quality. The issue is being able to generate some consistent results out of this. Now, if we look at this data, there are multiple dimensions to this data. It could be structured or unstructured. It could be historical or real-time data. What is real-time data in the context of policing? There are a lot of, as part of smart policing initiatives, there are real-time feeds coming from surveillance camera, not surveillance, I mean from the cameras itself. Actually, you're dealing with quite a few entities. It's not just criminal, it's not just suspect, it's not the victim. You're dealing with locations, you're dealing with contact numbers, you're dealing with quite a few other entities actually, and quite a few activities. All of this essentially is translating to huge volume and variety of data. And that's where I think the data repository, basically data coming from various source systems, essentially should be organized in such a way that it should become usable, or it should start generating actionable intelligence. And that's where the entity resolution and POL methodology, when we refer to POL, it means person, object, location associated with an event, should be organized so that it generates various helps in various use cases. Now, that could be crime monitoring, it could be search, it could be criminal profiling, it could be predictive insights, OSINT, open source intelligence analysis, and financial crime analysis. What I'll do is that I'll just go through very briefly across each of these use cases and how this framework or technology will help in various use cases, what I just discussed now. The immediate byproduct, the first byproduct of creating a repository, that repository we may call it as a data warehouse, a data lake, data repository, and so on. The first byproduct is that you start having a 360-degree view of the criminal or any other victim or any other entity actually. So when we say 360-degree view, with respect to victim, you will have physical details, any affiliations to the gangs, what kind of weapons has been this person deals with, are there any intelligence inputs on this particular individual, what kind of bank accounts does he operate, what kind of call records that have been found, what kind of numbers does this person, geographic footprint, and so on. That is immensely helpful for the agency to deal with any crime associated with this particular individual going forward. And of course, these details will also help a lot in modeling as what are those attributes of this individual crime, location, modus operandi, which are highly correlated to a particular type of the crime. Now, the second one, of course, is which is our favorite topic, is how do we help the agencies in suspect scoring? So, as and when there is a crime event, whether it is murder, whether it is any cyber crime, how do we really quickly get to the short list of the suspects? And till now, it has been immensely based on the intelligence and the understanding of an officer or the official on the ground. But can it be institutionalized? Can there be a data-driven approach applied to this? The answer is yes. So what I'm just saying is that you take into consideration the behavioral aspects of the crime, individual aspects of the crime, personality traits, demography, economic indicators of that particular location, individual. And since there is wealth of data available, we apply multiple machine learning algorithms. It could be a decision tree or a random forest or a regression. Ultimately, it becomes an usable model for the agency to understand what are those attributes of the crime, entities involved in a crime, which can help us to arrive at the short list of the suspects. Or it could be the age of the culprit, proximity of the criminal from the crime location, past crimes, weapons used, location, personality, etc. Now, how do we simplify this and see this in action? Now, this is where you see this. Now, here is where we're trying to see a suspect prediction based on various variables. So here we are assuming that there's a crime that has happened. The information what has been provided is that it has happened in northeast district of Delhi, Selampur. The crime major is attempted murder. It was used firearms. Ultimately, the impact was the murder actually. Now, if we have the information of the known offenders, okay, what we do is, given these attributes, given the geographic footprint, given the modus operandi, it helps us to understand on the right bottom, what you see here is that there are 4 known offenders and who is very likely to have committed this particular crime given these parameters. We're not saying this is the answer. It definitely helps to arrive at the shortlist for you to make a beginning edge. Now, what we see increasingly as Dr. Harshvinder and others have stated is that increasingly police agencies are also wanting to have a data-driven alerts, not just human intelligence, but also data-driven intelligence. What you see here is based on the crimes that are getting reported, type of the crimes that are getting reported close to critical installations, whether it is parliament, assemblies, power grids, any other critical installations. Does it indicate anything leading to a bigger crime actually? Okay. The second one on the right side, what you see here is based on the types of crimes that are recorded across various police stations, does it indicate emergence of a particular pattern? Now, that emergence of a particular pattern could be, crime against women, crime against children, sexual offenses. There could be correlation between certain crimes to, the serious crimes against women or children. Actually. So you would want to derive this intelligence from the data so that you can proactively put some deployments around that. One of the very, very important aspects is that the perpetrators of crime can be very impulsive or could be, doing an organized crime. Actually, if you are dealing with organized crime, there will be layers. Now, when we are dealing with crime relating to murder, money laundering, terrorist finance, funding is very, very important. Apart from the modus operandi, trying to identify the funding is very important, and that is where the financial crime analytics is very, very critical to understand who is funding this, how the funding essentially is getting disseminated through the layers so that it gets perpetrated. And increasingly, agencies are looking towards identifying the source of funding so that they can contain it. And one of the favorite topics of most of the agencies these days is how do they leverage open source intelligence. Here is where we're talking about propaganda, we're talking about radicalization, we're talking about unrest being generated, and how that unrest can be manifested in a unproportionate manner within short period of time. And the tool for that is, of course, is the social media. Now, how do you really manage and understand and identify such behaviors online so that you can contain that as quickly as possible? What you see also on the right side is that using the social media data with respect to any of these agencies, any of these vendors, and also combining it with the forensic data to solve a crime, a serious crime, before it happens is very, very critical. So from that perspective, the type and variety of data that is coming to use is quite a bit and quite a complex. Now, as Dr. Harshwinder Singh sir said, it is very important to start making some small changes, and these small changes essentially should have an institutional impact. Now, one such change, which I believe is very, very important, is around case management or the investigations itself. Is there a way to standardize the investigations? Is there a way to understand whether the investigation methods are proving useful? Is there a way to understand that some of the investigation methods need to be relooked at? From that perspective, the case management in a structured manner will help to understand the effectiveness of these investigation methods, and based on the feedback, they can be improvised or improved over a period of time. And by the way, this also creates an institutional memory. When we refer to institutional memory, it helps the agency to understand what worked well in solving crime, in creating deterrence, versus what is not working actually. And that institutional memory can be replicated across the organization. Now, I keep hearing quite a bit, though this is a very simple requirement, from very genuine asks from the person who is on the ground, as Sharat Kaviraj said and Dr. Harshwinder said, that the person who is on the ground needs to be equipped. And that's where the effectiveness of the organization will start reflecting. And the person will ask some basic questions. Given that I've seen a vehicle, given that I've come across a tip-off, I've come across a number, does it already present in any of the databases what the police agency has? And that's where the person on the ground would require the search capabilities. Now, these search capabilities could be very simple, to put some text, to very complicated in terms of doing a phonetic search or a synonym search, or trying to build an advanced search by putting a lot of conditions over there. If you see here, we have just put a name Sikandar, which we deliberately spelled wrong. However, the technology can essentially pick it up to call it as that it is Sikandar Yadav, and there are multiple Sikandar Yadavs across the multiple entities, what you see on the left actually. Now, it is very, very powerful capability for the person on the ground, so that he can quickly have some capability to respond to the situation what he is in. Now, just to summarize, the broad capabilities, demands from the police agencies, and what the technology can help in the context of smart policing or innovations in the policing itself. the framework, what we suggested, the technology, what we are suggesting, can help you to get a bird eye view where it can provide you a 360-degree view of the suspects, investigations, operations. The agencies deal with a lot of complex investigations because they are dealing with organized crime. Finding a quick tip out of that, getting it proper direction in the investigation is very, very important, and that's where the capabilities to analyze the data and disparate data with banking, telecom, forensics, and so on is very, very important, including open source intelligence. And very importantly, as both of the speakers said, increasing use of artificial intelligence makes the operations data driven and not just the person driven. While the person understanding is very, very important, but the overall effectiveness of the organization is driven by when the organization starts running on a data driven approach. And that's where machine learning and artificial intelligence could be of immense use to support this objective. And one of the very important things is being able to process or conduct operations in a secured manner. And that's where standard operating procedures mentioned by Dr. Ashwindar are very, very critical. And that capabilities are provided by the case management. And the last, but not the least, is time to the outcome. Owing to the key issues what I mentioned, political imperatives, public expectations to generate the outcome quick enough, because perceptions are very, very important in the current world. So it is very, very important to derive the output or outcome as quickly as possible. And that is primarily driven when we start using the institutional memory or organizational knowledge based on the repository that gets created. And by the way, this is not a one-time effort. This is a continuous effort, both in terms of being able to continuously enhance the quality of data, quality of data sources in the repository, continuously evolving with the methods that get deployed to generate the predictive scoring models of suspects and other entities. And of course, being able to make it usable, that is very, very critical. Make it usable across the organization, not just from the top management, but also the person who is working on the ground, either SHO or the constable, who can sense utility out of this entire infrastructure. So thanks a lot for providing this opportunity. I tried covering as much as possible from the aspirations that have been stated by the speakers. I'm happy to take any questions around this. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Radha Krishna. It was really insightful. And anybody has any questions, if there are, otherwise we will end the session here now. And okay, so we will move on to end the session. And I would be very happy to announce here that we are actually also felicitating in the India Transformation Summit and Awards. We are felicitating unique and innovative efforts which have been done, especially in this COVID-19 period, for citizen service and for the country. So today we are very honored to present the award of excellence to Shri Sharat Kaviraj, who is the Deputy Inspector General in Rajasthan Police, a dynamic IPS officer, for his initiative on. I will request Deepak to present the award first here for his taking leadership in citizen services by issuing e-passes during COVID-19 lockdown. I will request for a round of applause for Sharatji, and Sharatji, we'll request you to please accept this award of excellence from Elets and India Transformation Summit. You would like to say anything about it, sir?
Thank you so much. It feels very nice to receive the award. And awards basically speak for the entire team. So there's a lot of effort by the technical team, by the supporting team. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And along with that, we will give you a speaker certificate for sharing your valuable inputs and expertise at India Transformation Summit 2020, a 3-day, one of the biggest conclaves across the globe on transformation of the country. Thank you so much, sir. I will, with great honor, I will thank Dr. Arshinder Singh Chawla ji, Additional Director General of Police in Haryana Police. Thank you, sir, for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And for a wonderful presentation, I will thank Mr. B. Radha Krishna, Director for CFCS, Fraud and Security Intelligence in SAS, one of the renowned companies in security. Radha Krishna ji, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for this recognition. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And Ankit ji is here with us, Ankit Jain, who is director in SAS. We would like to thank you, Ankit Jain ji, for your valuable presence. And I will request share your ideas. And we have Mr. Sharat Kaviraj here with us. You must have worked in Rajasthan also. So I would like to introduce you with Mr. Kaviraj, Mr. Ankit Jain. And Chawla is also here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Karthik. I think it's an honor to be part of such a forum wherein all the industry veterans and the Dr. Chawla, Mr. Sharat Kaviraj. I mean, it's an honor always to hear their views and how they are leveraging technologies in their own field for the betterment of the entire policing ecosystem. So I think it's really wonderful to be associated with such great people. Thank you so much.
Right. And I will also like to announce an award for Yashasvi Yadav ji. He is doing wonderful work in Maharashtra cyber crime area and heading the Maharashtra cyber crime department. We just felicitating Mr. Yashasvi Yadav. He could not continue joining us, but we all must give a round of applause for Mr. Yadav, please. It was, we are wrapping up this session with the certificate of Deepak. It's fine. Now we can have a good view. We can stop the live also, please.
Thank you.